RuneScape is an MMORPG that has been around for longer than most of us have expected it to, at least longer than I've expected it to. I've personally been playing RuneScape since 2005, and yet here we are today in 2020 with both RuneScape 3 and Old School RuneScape still running with active communities. RuneScape has survived against other major MMOs like WoW, Black Desert Online, Elder Scrolls Online, and many other, making it one of the oldest and most active MMOs still to this day. But I've been noticing a sort of steady decline in original content being made for Old School RuneScape on YouTube, and it has me wondering, is RuneScape related content becoming obsolete? Are people becoming less and less interested in RuneScape now? Or does the problem stem deeper than that, like from RuneScape release content itself? These are all questions I'd like to try to go over today to get to the bottom of why there's a decline in original content for RuneScape. Afterwards, I'd love to hear what you all think about the current state of YouTube content in the RuneScape community in the comments below. I want to preface this by saying that there are a few incredibly good series and original series out there regarding RuneScape. Gilnor Games being put on by Soup right now is just one of those series that comes to my mind that really shows the creativity of the RuneScape community. This video is not to bash any RuneScape content creators out there who may be guilty of some of the things I'll talk about, because I'm guilty too. But really, this video is to try to bring to light some problems that the community might be facing when they're creating their content. Today we're going to look at some numbers with a very basic search engine tool called Keywords Everywhere and Google Trends to try to answer some of these questions stated above. The first thing we're going to do with Keywords Everywhere is look at how often Old School RuneScape versus Old School RuneScape is searched into YouTube. Now, here in this graph, there's a few things I want to mention about the comparison between the two. First of all, I think it's hilarious how we're all so lazy that OSRS is typed into Google about 30 times or greater since basically 2015. This really shows our dedication to not spelling out things that we really don't have to. It also lets us know that when people search for RuneScape related content, they're typing in OSRS instead of Old School RuneScape. Secondly, I want you all to pay attention to the interest over time for OSRS. So since we've determined that when people are searching YouTube for OSRS content, they're typing in OSRS, we know that that's the line that's more important. As you all can see, the interest over time has reached almost equal levels now than back in March 2015. Now, if you all don't know, March 2015 is when the Grand Exchange officially launched on the Old School RuneScape servers. That means about an equal amount of people are interested in RuneScape content on YouTube than when the Grand Exchange originally launched on the servers, which that brought in waves of new players. Honestly, this is pretty scary to know. Even with the release of major updates such as mobile and Darkmire, Old School RuneScape numbers on YouTube seem to be on a major downward slope. Now let's go ahead and switch the graphs from a YouTube search of Old School RuneScape content to a web search of OSRS content. Now this graph actually shows a strikingly different result than the YouTube search. Yes, Google interest over time for OSRS is currently decreasing, but Google searches for OSRS are still at one of its all-time highs since OSRS servers were released. In comparing the two graphs side by side, we can see that more people are searching Google for RuneScape related content rather than on YouTube. In fact, Google searches for OSRS content are far outperforming YouTube-related searches. Now, before we dive deeper into what these results may mean, let's look at how many active users are actually on OSRS. This graph currently shows the active populations of OSRS, RS3, and both of them combined. This page runs a script every 5 minutes to contact the front page of both OSRS and RS3 to tell how many players are currently online at that time. Looking at this graph, it's interesting how OSRS highest peak active users was around 109,000, yet the player count still remains around 90,000 players. This means that a lot of players are still playing OSRS, but why aren't they looking at YouTube videos for RuneScape related content? With all of this information, let's go ahead and break down some of these questions. Is RuneScape related content becoming obsolete? The answer we can infer from these graphs is that no, RuneScape related content is not becoming obsolete. With 90,000 active members online, the amount of people interested in OSRS is not decreasing. All of these players, I'm sure, looked up one point a money making guide a quest guide, or a 1 to 99 leveling guide for whatever skill they're doing. However, it seems that people are going towards Google to find this information they need rather than YouTube. That also might mean that less people are watching community content that's created for entertainment because they're looking up educational websites such as the OSRS wiki instead. This also answers the question of whether or not people are becoming less and less interested in RuneScape. Again, based on the amount of active players still remaining, OSRS is still keeping a rather large active player base. Based on these graphs, does that mean the problem must stem deeper than the creativity of the RuneScape community on YouTube? Comparing the YouTube trends with the OSRS timeline by Phantomato, we see an obvious similarity based on when recent updates for the game came out and when people are searching OSRS content on YouTube. This could potentially mean that no one's interested in looking at YouTube for more content unless more content comes out from Jagex themselves, therefore leading to the conclusion that the problem might stem deeper than the OSRS community. So that begs the question, why is OSRS losing views on YouTube then? Paired with the problem of new content for OSRS not really coming out in major waves, I believe that some of the unoriginality of OSRS content on RuneScape could be to blame for the downward trend as well. It does seem like every other day there's another video relating to any form of Hardcore Ironman, money-making guides, or how-to videos. We also see some YouTubers out there that stick to making the same series for years on end, without much innovation. Now don't get me wrong, there's some great Hardcore Ironman and Ultimate Ironman series out there. You have Sea Engineers PvP Hardcore Ironman and Settled Swampletics that are just some examples of my favorites. But how many times can this same content really be rehashed though? Each series always includes grinding early levels, showing off early quests that unlock new things for the character, and even getting beginner gear from clue scrolls and the such. It honestly gets a little boring after you've seen it so many times, because we all love RuneScape and we all want more content related to it. However, 1 to 99 guides that say the same things, how-to videos that people can just go to the wiki for, Hardcore Ironman videos, repetitive YouTube series of the same things you've been doing for years, or money-making guides that basically seem the same exact things, are all unoriginal and therefore losing views. That brings us to the end of today's video. I deeply appreciate anyone that stuck around this far. If you like this video, make sure to leave a comment of what you think about the current state of OSRS content on YouTube, and please drop a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time.